This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. Winnipeg police have identified a woman whose remains were found next to the Red River just over a month ago. Now they're trying to piece together a timeline of her last days alive so they can figure out who killed her. The CBC's Stephanie Cram reports.
It was an investigation that spanned across 3,000 meters on the bank of the Red River over several days after the discovery of human remains last month. The victim, now identified as 40-year-old June Christine Johnson, her identity determined thanks to the public.
About a month ago, we had the press conference seeking her identity. I actually walked upstairs, sat at my desk. First phone call was information regarding June. The next several phone calls was information regarding June.
Police say she was last seen in February. It was unique descriptors they provided in April at a press conference that helped identify her. Police say her death is a homicide.
So we would like the public, if they have any information on who her friends were, where she went during the evening hours, who she associated with, no small detail is not important.
Dozens of officers continue to work on the case, sorting through hours of video.
I can advise that over 60 members of the Winnipeg Police Service have worked on this investigations. Over 11 terabytes of video has been collected by homicide investigators. Hundreds of hours of video surveillance has been reviewed by investigators.
Police say at this time, Johnson's family is asking for privacy, but want justice. They provided a statement saying she was a loving mother who lost her way.
She loved hard, and family was of great importance to her. June had a great sense of humor, was very outgoing, and we are going to cherish our good times and memories with her. Sadly, addiction took over all aspects of her life, and we lost her in this very tragic way.
Police confirm Johnson's death is not linked to other investigations. Anyone with information is asked to call police or Crime Stoppers. Stephanie Cram, CBC News, Winnipeg.
A Manitoba woman says her brother's disability and recent death are both the result of medical negligence. The CBC's Rachel Bergen has the story.
Earlier this month, Tim Elke died here at Health Sciences Centre. That was 2.5 years after his bowel was perforated during a surgery here at the same hospital, according to a lawsuit filed last year. Elke claimed neither the health region nor doctors acted quickly enough to avoid permanent damage. He had a second surgery 3 weeks after the first, but suffered multi-organ failure in that time.
He had a rough last 2.5 years.
Elke's mother and sister, Tammy Davis, are in mourning and say they shouldn't be.
It should have never happened. If the doctors would have done their job in the first place, and he might still be here.
None of the allegations have been proven in court. The health region wouldn't comment as the case is before the courts.
He was basically skin and bones.
Davis says her brother spent most of the time since his surgeries in hospital and died on May 5th. Now she wants the health region to take responsibility so this doesn't happen to anyone else.
Our healthcare system kind of sucks right now. And unfortunately, my brother had to pay for it with his life.
Elke's lawyer says the lawsuit is continuing after his death, and any damages awarded his client will be given to his estate. Rachel Bergen, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Houses that were once connected to suspected criminal activity could soon become affordable housing. The province wants to take 6 Point Douglas homes seized under the Criminal Property Forfeiture Act and have them converted into affordable places to live. Normally, assets seized because of unlawful activity are sold and the money is given to victims' services and police. The province says it will sell the 6 properties for $1 each to an Indigenous or nonprofit organization willing to develop affordable single-family dwellings for low to moderate income families. The goal is to provide much-needed housing and revitalize the neighborhood. The last few hours before Clifford Joseph disappeared were the focus in the Eric Wildman trial today. Wildman is charged with first-degree murder in Joseph's death. CBC's Brittany Greenslade is covering the trial for us.
An ex-girlfriend and a lover of Clifford Joseph both took the stand today. Each was questioned about Joseph's drug use and the last moments they spoke with him. Both testified they were in contact with him in the hours before he went missing, but say those messages abruptly stopped. Joseph was last seen in the early hours of June 7th, 2021 by his live-in girlfriend before she went to bed. She previously told the court she found his car abandoned later that morning nearby. Kristen Wise says he told her he was going to Wildman's property to steal a winch from a trailer. She says she saw headlights leaving the driveway around 3:30 a.m., but he never came home. She testified she found his hat and shoes in Wildman's field. Today, 2 women gave testimony saying he was messaging them that morning looking to have sex. His ex says she last heard from him just after 1 a.m. Meanwhile, his lover, Amanda Thomas, says she had seen him just days before. While reviewing texts, she put her hands over her mouth and started crying. She says she thought he was coming to see her that night. He said he had one thing to do in the bush, Thomas said. So you were expecting him to show up to your place? Defense attorney Martin Glazer responded. I was, she said. Thomas says hours later she heard from Wise, who told her Joseph was gone. At first, I didn't think he was missing. It had only been a few hours. Both women spoke about Joseph's long-time and daily meth use and his cheating, but say they don't know of anyone who wanted to hurt him. Both also say they had never met and do not know the accused. Wildman has pleaded not guilty. Brittany Greenslade, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Manitoba Public Insurance has a project to modernize its technology called Project Nova. It's way behind schedule and almost $200 million over budget. MPI hired McKinsey Consulting to look into what's happened with that project. Today, in question period, the NDP released an internal MPI email in which someone says McKinsey is not meeting objectives and wonders if the company can be removed. NDP leader Wam Kanu questioned why the government is paying a firm that's falling short. MPI says it's unfortunate details of its internal communications were leaked, but it says such discussions are normal, and also it's extremely satisfied with McKinsey's advice and support. A Winnipeg engineering technology says the $500 million price tag to widen Kenaston Boulevard isn't worth the cost. Ken Clausen says past city reports show the project will not generate the benefits proponents like Mayor Scott Gillingham say it will. A 2012 study found the project would generate about $6 million a year, but a 2019 report estimated the cost of the project to be $38 million a year. Clausen says the city would have more luck getting the federal and provincial governments to fund rapid transit.
The federal government is not funding urban freeways. They're funding rapid transit. Winnipeg taxpayers are literally seeing their federal tax dollars being used to fund rapid transit in other cities, and we're not at the table.
Gillingham says 2/3 of the estimated cost of the Kenaston project is needed to replace the St. James Bridge and upgrade the road and sewers. Meteorologist John Sauder joins us now on a day when that smoke really did move in.
Yeah, it did, and so did the cold front. I don't know if you felt how cold it got all of a sudden. I'm going to touch on that, but yeah, we are still in a special air quality statement. I'll show you the area, the shaded area in a second. This is how the smoke has been really moving across the prairies over the last few days, and perhaps online you've seen some of the smoke in Calgary. Well, that's that yellow that you see right about here. The wind shifted yesterday, and all of a sudden, all of the smoke from these fires moved down over the city. Now, if you saw pictures of that, you'll think that the smoke in our area is not all that bad. You can see fires in northern Saskatchewan, and here in southern Manitoba, a few of them, but the smoke is right over the Winnipeg area and will remain so for the next little while. Now, we've had some changes in the air quality statement. It has moved a little bit farther to the south. So some of the northern areas where it's been raining through the night and through the day today, Thompson, Norway House, those fires are getting under control. Across the south, though, we still have that special air quality statement. You can see much of Saskatchewan in that and virtually all of Alberta. There's the cold front. We were at 25 degrees here with sunshine just before lunchtime in Winnipeg. Temperature, once the cold front hit us, dropped 7 degrees in just minutes and then ended up at 12 degrees, now 12.8 across southern Manitoba. The rain with this is continuing to move out through the White Shell, southeastern Manitoba, and through the evening hours off into northwestern Ontario. Still a few showers just around the south end of Winnipeg right now. So we are at 13. North winds have really quieted down earlier, gusting to about 40 kilometers per hour, but now north at 11. And we'll generally stay with that northerly wind as we head through the day on Thursday. A few showers around, really not a lot to report for rain tomorrow. It's generally a cloudy and very cool day. And you can see rain kind of developing on into the evening out through northwestern Ontario. But by early Friday morning, and for Winnipeg, early means about 4 o'clock, it is sunny, and it's going to stay sunny on Friday, and we're looking at mainly sunny conditions on Saturday as well, even a return to seasonal temperatures after a very cool Thursday on the way. And winds will be up there as well, around 30 kilometers per hour in the morning for gusts. That's the number on the right, and then as you look on into the afternoon, our winds are more like 30 to 40 kilometers per hour, even a little stronger than that out around Virden and Melita and in the west. And then on Friday, the winds really drop off nicely. So tonight we get cooler down to 6, mainly cloudy, hazy. It'll be a hazy, cool Thursday. Afternoon temperatures in parts of southern Manitoba will struggle to get past the single digits. I'm projecting a 10 here in Winnipeg with a northwest wind at least 20 to 30, maybe even 40 kilometers per hour. Look at this snapping back to summer here. 21 Friday, 25 Saturday, 20 on Sunday, and lots of sunshine ahead.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
We are just hours away from the beginning of Manitoba 2023. The festival is scheduled to officially begin tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. at Red River Exhibition Park. It wraps up on Monday. Lisa Meaches is Manitoba's Executive Director. Chimagwech for joining us, Lisa.
Absolutely, Janet. And hello, Manitoba. Hello, Winnipeg. And happy Manitoba weekend.
Tomorrow brings us not only the official kickoff, but also the Next Gen Youth Empowerment Celebration. That's new this year. Tell us about it.
Well, we listened to the young people, and what they wanted was an opportunity to be able to speak their voice. It's going to be a loud and a proud day with the Indigenous influencers from across the country. And so we're looking forward to what they have to say. The message is kinship. The message is about honoring the medicine wheel. And the message is about the next generation of Indigenous people that are willing to take on the role of just becoming the decision makers. And so we're preparing them for that journey. And so we have about 2,500 students registered for this event. We're sold out. We are at capacity. And so, you know, the odd time we'll have a school crash and attend the event. So we're looking forward to 2,500 young people under one roof. And so we want to thank all of our sponsors for coming out and supporting us. Yes, the event is starting tomorrow with the Next Gen celebration and the official kickoff. And then the powwow begins Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And built within the powwow grounds, you'll find the Red Road Runway, which is our version of being able to share the best of who we are with the Indigenous fashion community. And so that includes designers, hair, makeup. And so we're having a runway just to try it out this year because we really want to enhance the opportunity for our crafters to be able to bring together the fashion industry and the world of makeup and runway and beauty. And so we've been making big splashes as Indigenous people on the Cannes Red Carpet Festival in New York and LA and all of these amazing runways. And so we wanted to bring that to Manitoba. Of course, we have our on Monday the Indian horse relay race, and so that's really something unique to Manitoba. And so we invite everyone to come out and celebrate with us.
Everybody. So if someone is non-Indigenous, they can feel comfortable coming to everything at Manitoba?
Absolutely. Absolutely. As a matter of fact, we would like to encourage our fellow non-Indigenous folks to come out and celebrate with us. This is a time for reconciliation. We're constantly reminded in our messaging and the work that's going out there within the greater community is constantly a reminder of reconciliation and why we need to reconcile with our allies. I mean, there's lots of issues that we can talk about, Janet. But Manitoba Weekend is about bringing all of us together in a holistic way. And of course, we're named after the sacred sites, in Manitoba. And that site is so imperative for our people. And it's a good reminder of the traditional economies that were once here prior to contact and the celebrations that were once here prior to contact. And, it's no secret that once upon a time, this way of life was illegal in this part of the world and all over Canada. And so it was illegal to powwow. It was illegal to sing our songs. It was illegal to come together. We couldn't come together larger than groups of four. And so we're now able to look at all of those things, remind ourselves that we are better human beings now for what we've learned from the past. And so kinship and reconciliation is on our target this year, Janet. And so we want to encourage all Manitobans to come out and celebrate with us, and of course our own people.
Lisa Meachus, thank you so much for your time. Have a wonderful weekend.
And you as well, Janet. I hope to see you out here.
And she will. More than 19,000 people have been forced from their homes in Alberta. And now there's growing concern about the threat of trespassing, even looting in evacuated areas. That story after the break. There are just over 90 wildfires burning across Alberta today, 28 of them still classified as out of control. More than 19,000 people have been forced from their homes. And with that, there's growing concern about the threat of trespassing and even looting in evacuated areas. CBC's Madeline Cummings has this report now from Valley View, Alberta.
More than 70,000 hectares have burned in the municipal district of Greenview. There are 8 wildfires burning in this area, and of those 8, 6 could threaten nearby towns, like the one I'm standing in right now. We are in Valley View. Normally 2,000 residents live here, but they are under an evacuation order. We know from the Reeve, Tyler Olson, that the municipal district has lost about 30 structures during these wildfires. RCMP are here in Valley View blocking off the entrances to towns. And we learned from them this morning that there have been 28 reports of break-and-enters. Now that's province-wide break-and-enters in evacuation zones. They've made 12 arrests in relation to those.
That follows in line with our typical crime trends that we experienced previously to the fires. Is the areas that we experience higher crime rates are the areas that are still being targeted now. So there's no real difference in that. It's just that we're really focusing on those evacuated areas right now.
Driving into town this morning, we could see a lot of smoke in the air. It was very difficult to see much ahead of us. Very smelly inside the car. The mayor of Valley View, though, says that the wind is expected to keep blowing from the southeast direction, and that could blow some of the wildfire happening near this town away from town, which would be good news.
We do not know a lot about the technical stuff. We just know what our fire chief will tell us and SRD tells us. But last night was a good night, I was told. So we're hopeful that in the near future we may be able to get people home.
The Reeve says that he's most concerned about the wildfire near Fox Creek, and that's about 45 minutes away. Madeline Cummings, CBC News, Valley View.
The possibility of travel chaos and canceled flights this weekend is looming ever nearer. Pilots at WestJet have served notice they are ready to strike beginning Friday, and the company says the two sides are no closer to a deal. The main disputes are pay and job security. They've been negotiating without success for 9 months now. Labor experts say the standoff reflects the deteriorating conditions in the profession. Any job action could affect WestJet and Swoop flights, disrupting long weekend travel plans for thousands of Canadians. Canada's Prime Minister is in South Korea right now, making a pitch for even closer business and political ties. He's trying to position Canada as the place to invest in clean technology, and he's doing it while carefully avoiding a potential pitfall, a stark difference in views about gender equality. CBC's Ashley Burke files this report from Seoul.
The Prime Minister paying tribute to fallen Korean heroes and veterans. Then visiting the burial site of a Canadian who fought Japanese colonialism. A reminder of the historic sacrifice the two countries share, as Trudeau pitches to become even closer with South Korea.
We need to be the best of friends.
While addressing the National Assembly, he tried to sell Canada as a clean tech superpower of the future.
Canada is ready to strengthen our partnership with friends like Korea on everything from critical minerals to high-tech innovation to clean energy solutions.
It is my foreign minister.
A pitch he also made to companies like Samsung.
I see more and more win-win relationship coming.
But as Trudeau works on his relationships, he tiptoed around one of the policies he holds dear, feminism. South Korea's President Yoon Suk-yeol campaigned on an anti-feminist movement. He's defended his plan to abolish the Gender Equality Ministry and has claimed systemic gender discrimination doesn't exist in South Korea. A stark contrast to Trudeau, who says his government is feminist. Yoon said he didn't have any conversations with Trudeau about feminism this visit, but Trudeau said he did raise gender equality.
I did highlight that one of the most important things is to ensure that all citizens get to participate in the success of our economies, and that governments do have a responsibility to step up on inclusive policies, including policies around gender equality.
His foreign affairs minister says this won't get in the way of the two countries' cooperation.
President Yoon and Prime Minister Trudeau click very well. So when you have good relationships, you're able to address things that sometimes you don't necessarily agree.
What they did agree on was to extend the scope of their intelligence sharing to include private defense industries. South Korea and Canada also signed an agreement to cooperate on the critical mineral supply chain and struck a new deal for more people to work and travel in Canada and South Korea. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Seoul.
A spokesperson for Prince Harry and his wife Meghan says the couple was involved in a near-catastrophic car chase involving the paparazzi. It happened last night in New York City. Chris Reyes has the latest developments from New York.
Prince Harry and Meghan were in New York City last night for a charity event. The Duchess of Sussex was being honored at the Women of Vision Gala for her work with women and girls. The event started at 6 p.m. As far as we know, they arrived at the venue with no incident, but the real chaos, according to their publicist, happened after they left the event at about 10 p.m. The pair's publicist released a statement this morning saying that there was a relentless pursuit of the couple by the paparazzi that lasted over 2 hours, with multiple near collisions involving other drivers, pedestrians, and 2 NYPD officers, adding that the near catastrophic car chase came at the hands of a ring of highly aggressive paparazzi.
There's scooters and motorcycles running in between them, ahead of them, crossing in front of them. They're trying to create some distance, and this is becoming worse and worse.
Prince Harry has talked extensively about how much he despises the paparazzi and how traumatizing it has been for him to be followed by photographers throughout his life, the anger that he still has about what they put his mother through, and how much he's wanted to protect his own family from suffering the same fate as his mother. Now, the NYPD has confirmed that the chase happened. In their words, they said there were numerous photographers that made their transport challenging. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex arrived at their destination, and there were no reported collisions, summonses, injuries, or arrests. The city's mayor, Eric Adams, weighed in on this. Have a listen to what he said.
I would find it hard to believe that there was a 2-hour high-speed chase. That would be, I find it hard to believe, but we will find out the exact duration of it. But if it's 10 minutes, a 10-minute chase is extremely dangerous in New York City.
And according to Mayor Eric Adams, the NYPD has launched an investigation into the incident. Chris Reyes, CBC News, New York.
Just checking to see. Farmers in Canada are grappling with the killer virus. My apologies there. We had a bit of an issue with the lineup. Nearly 1 million birds have died or been destroyed because of avian flu outbreaks in the last year in Quebec alone, more than 7 million across the country. Sarah Levitt explains the risks and the precautions Canadian farmers are taking.
We do our best.
Before Frédéric Paris even steps into his barn to see his chickens, he takes off his boots. Inside a vestibule, more procedures.
I'm ready to go to work inside the barns.
Paris is the only one to go inside. All this to protect the chickens.
We take all the possible steps to protect our farm, our birds, our flocks, and our livelihood from the virus.
That virus is the H5N1 strain of avian flu, and Paris has reason to worry. A cluster of poultry farms nearby have lost their entire flocks from the flu and euthanasia after infections were detected. Quebec is grappling with the worst outbreaks it's ever had. There are 20 confirmed infected locations already this year, almost the same as all of last year.
There's a lot of virus out in the environment right now.
At this McMaster University lab, Matthew Miller concentrates his efforts on prevention through vaccine and antiviral drug development. Since this strain was first detected in Canada in late 2021, 7.6 million birds have either died of the flu or been euthanized. Miller says the economic and agricultural impacts are immense, but he has a bigger concern.
When these viruses spill over from animals like chickens or turkeys into humans, it can have very, very high death rates.
Human infection is rare, but can happen. This week, 2 poultry workers in the UK tested positive for the flu.
The good news is that these viruses don't spread well from person to person. They mainly infect people who come in close contact with infected animals.
In his driveway, Paris sprays a car with disinfectant, a requirement for anybody who drives onto his property. After all, it's his livelihood on the line. Sarah Levitt, CBC News, Saint-Cécile-de-Milton, Quebec.
Hip-hop star Snoop Dogg is beefing up his bid to buy the Ottawa Senators. This week, the entertainer hinted at a possible partnership with an Ontario First Nations group. There are reportedly 9 bidders willing to pay an estimated $900 million for the team. Nicole Williams has more.
Snoop Dogg appeared to break the news on Instagram.
A shout out to the First Nations of Canada. That's right, for joining Nico Sparks in the Ottawa Senators bid.
The rapper didn't say which First Nations he and the LA businessman are working with or how many. But in this quiet area of Western Quebec, Kitigan-Zibi Anishinabeg could be on the verge of making a deal. Its chief confirmed members met with bidders this week, including the Nico Sparks team. And people here are now starting to dream about the possibilities.
Making a statement for First Nations saying that, look, we can get a team on our unceded land. I think it would be a good move for us, honestly.
I love Snoop Dogg. I love you, Snoop Dogg.
Though not everyone is so sure.
Isn't he the one that goes out with Martha Stewart?
I think the First Nations should stay out of it.
The chief of the Algonquins of Pikwakanagan in Eastern Ontario says he's interested in any economic opportunities that benefit the community. Other community leaders have reached out themselves, trying to get in on a deal to co-own the team.
It's such an exciting process and could be a very big precedent-setting moment, in terms of this type of relationship across Canada.
This professor says this could signal a shift from consulting First Nations to actually getting them involved on big business deals.
Never had it cross my mind before that this would ever be an opportunity where a potential owner would reach out and say, well, with our billion-dollar team here, we'd like to bring the First Nation.
It's still unclear exactly what a partnership in owning an NHL team would look like for a First Nation, but some people here say giving Indigenous communities any stake in a major sports franchise is a real step towards reconciliation. Nicole Williams, CBC News, Kitigan-Zibi.
The World Meteorological Organization says the Earth is heating up faster than anticipated. We'll have more on the impacts we can expect to see in the next few years after the break, plus an option that gives new flexibility to people who don't really want to own their own car. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Winnipeggers who don't own a car but like to use one every now and then soon have an expanded option to help get them around. The city's only car-sharing co-op is launching a new free service, a floating service, next month called Flow. As CBC's Cameron McLean reports, it lets you pick up the vehicle and then drop it off wherever within a designated part of the city.
Back to the future in our DeLorean.
Winnipeg City Councillors got a test drive today in one of 35 new vehicles that will launch as part of Pig City Car Co-op's new Flow service.
They'll be able to jump in a car, drive it for 5 minutes, drop it off in another zone. It increases the freedom and the mobility.
This map shows the areas where the Flow service is available. People can check a mobile app to find a vehicle, and when they're done, drop it off anywhere in that zone where parking is allowed, without worrying about time limits or paying for a space. Previously, people had to specify a time for drop-off, and the car had to go back where it came from. Zafira Vun uses the car co-op to visit family members.
So as of today, I've had to book cars in downtown, visit my family, and then drop it back off in the spot that I got it. So now with the free floating cars, I think it'll be a lot easier to kind of book a car, go visit my family, and just leave it there. And it'll be a lot more flexible.
The new cars bring the co-op fleet to more than 130 vehicles. Eventually, they hope to grow that to 200, with half of that being part of the free floating service. CEO Philip McCulloch hopes that will help them expand into more neighborhoods. He hopes including the downtown and the Exchange District.
Right now we have drop-off points. It's a total of 9 in 3 different locations for people who are bringing a Flow vehicle downtown. But eventually we want to work with the WPA to figure out how we negotiate making the downtown and Exchange completely part of the Flow zone.
The new Flow service will become available on June 7th. The new vehicles are a mix of Toyota Corolla hybrids and hatchbacks. McCulloch says he would have liked them to all be hybrids, but Toyota doesn't offer a hybrid hatchback in Canada. Eventually, the service wants to offer fully electric vehicles. There are talks with a potential partner in St. Boniface, and McCulloch says something could become available in the next year. Cameron McLean, CBC News, Winnipeg.
A new study shows global temperatures are reaching dangerous highs. The United Nations report depicts record temperatures and predicts that they will happen over the next 5 years. A trend suggesting the Earth is warming too quickly. Kate Fisher has the report from Washington.
We know that our world has been warming for decades, with 2016 the hottest on record so far, with global temperatures reaching 1.28 degrees Celsius above the pre-industrial figure. Today's WMO report shows a 98% likelihood that at least one of the next 5 years and the 5-year period as a whole will break that record. That doesn't mean the world is set to pass the 1.5 degree threshold permanently, but rather it sounds the alarm that the Earth is warming just too fast. Scientists blame both humans and nature, with our continued burning of fossil fuels combining with the predicted arrival of El Niño. That's a weather pattern that makes the world hotter by heating up the Pacific Ocean, which then heats the atmosphere above it. The UN's warning that it could push temperatures into uncharted territory.
There's no return back to the good old days because we already have such a high concentration of carbon dioxide, and also, of course, we have also increased the methane concentration in the atmosphere. And the best that we can do is to phase out this negative trend. The return back to normal level might take even thousands of years.
Under the Paris Climate Agreement, countries pledged to limit global warming to well below 2 degrees and preferably to 1.5 degrees. That's because scientists consider 1.5 to be a critical tipping point beyond which the chances of extreme weather events, things like flooding, drought, wildfires, heat waves and food shortages could dramatically increase. The UN's calling on countries to prepare for far-reaching repercussions on health and food security, water management and the environment. Now, the effect could be particularly acute in the Arctic, where the temperature anomaly is expected to be 3 times greater than the global figure. Kate Fisher for CBC News, Washington.
I don't know if you noticed, but in that report, there were pictures of cities with a lot of haze, and it kind of looks like areas we're seeing now filled with smoke.
Yeah, you know, Calgary comes to mind. We've got lots of wildfires here, lots of heat. We've had earlier this week, we had the heat wave hitting British Columbia, and now hazy conditions even here in our own province. Have a look at this. This was earlier today in the Assissippi Valley, and this was taken by Warren Bazan, but you can see the haze has moved through this area, also in that special air quality statement that we've been dealing with all across the south through the day today. These are the temperatures behind the cold front. As I mentioned earlier, 25 just before lunchtime, and we dropped to 17 instantly. 12 degrees through most of the afternoon, now 13 at the airport and at the Forks, 12 in Steinbach. These temperatures will continue to fall despite cloudy skies overnight tonight. It's still 17 in Brandon and 19 in Melita and 21 in Kenora, but the rain is on the way, and so is the cold front. So that will change things up through northwestern Ontario tonight. Behind the front and on the colder side of the low, we've got lots of single digits across the north at the moment, just one right now in Thompson. So some of the rain, well, the rain is kind of done in that area at this point, and generally clear skies overnight. Showers, though, risk of some thunderstorms along that cold front. The risk of a storm is only about 30%. It's more showers, maybe 4 or 5 millimeters of rain. Widespread smoke here across the south. We still have some evening showers out to the east, followed by some smoke overnight, and that continues, that smoke continues over into the western part of southern Manitoba. Still could see some showers around the Dauphin area tonight, but very cold overnight temperatures. Some evening rain still around Flin Flon, Thompson, and then things start to clear up. Thompson already at the overnight low of 1. Churchill dropping to 0. Increasing cloud, 13 in Churchill tomorrow, but with the sun, it's going to be warmer in northern Manitoba than it will be in the south through the day tomorrow. Look at these temperatures, 14 in Swan River, but single-digit numbers around Portage-la Prairie and down through Morden, Winkler, Gimli at 8, Winnipeg at 10, same with Steinbach. A chance for some afternoon showers, so a cool, breezy day with, at times, a few more showers. And then we've got a sun-cloud mix in Kenora at 13, but more showers will move in the evening hours through northwestern Ontario. Tomorrow, clearing on Friday.
Thanks, John.
You bet.
Well, flooding has certainly brought us problems in Italy. Torrential rain has triggered this in northern Italy. Some areas received half their average annual rainfall in just 36 hours. Rivers burst their banks, sending muddy water rushing through towns and washing over roofs and parked cars. Rescuers plucking people from the upper floors of their homes or the rooftops. Hundreds of hectares of farmland are submerged now, and although the rain has eased, water levels are still rising. Road and rail links are out of commission in several locations, and this weekend's Formula One race in one of the worst-hit areas has been called off. A 3D reconstruction of the Titanic has been created using deep-sea mapping. It's hoped the reconstruction of the ship will reveal more about why she sank on her maiden voyage back in 1912. CBC's Chris Brown has this report.
It's as if the Titanic has had all of the water surrounding it 3,800 meters under the Atlantic drained away. This stunning 3D reconstruction is made up of 700,000 images. Deep-sea mapping company Magellan and Atlantic Productions captured the images for a documentary.
We have an absolute replica, bolt by bolt, of the Titanic. And we can look at it at full size. We can look at it at, at smaller sizes.
There are new and incredible details, such as the serial number on a propeller.
This debris field, rather than just being a collection of shoes and champagne bottles and other things, you can actually identify people's belongings that are still on the bottom of the ocean.
I'm the king of the world! What most people know of the Titanic, about how a ship built to be unsinkable hit an iceberg and sank on its maiden voyage, comes from James Cameron's 1997 blockbuster. Cameron got a lot correct about what happened that night, but the new images also suggest new storylines.
Officer Murdoch in the Jim Cameron movie is a bad guy who doesn't seem to want to launch the last lifeboat. Well, we went down and we could look at the exact davit that was holding the boat back. So in fact, he couldn't have launched it because it was jammed.
To see it without the water was just breathtaking.
Physician, scientist, and explorer Joe McInnes was the first Canadian to dive the wreck.
You're looking through a tiny viewport, and you see this tiny section of seafloor or the Titanic, and you don't have a sense of the size of everything. So today's images kind of broke that for me, to see it in a way that I could only imagine.
McInnes says as more stories about the Titanic are revealed, the more we learn about ourselves, which is why the story of the sinking continues to fascinate.
How would I react if I was on the Titanic? Would I be courageous? Would I be a coward? It's a provocative place and it's a provocative subject.
With microbes eating away at the steel, every year the ocean swallows up more of the wreck. But now with these new images, it's as if the Titanic has been preserved for generations to study and learn from. Chris Brown, CBC News, London.
Taking that great nightclub vibe to the great outdoors. Punjabi and Bollywood music will ring through Winnipeg's Brooklands neighborhood next month. Hear about the first outdoor Desi Summer Music Festival after the break. One of the things we love to say about our province is that we have great festivals. We talked about Manitoba a little earlier. We will soon have a new festival to celebrate. Mohit Seni is one of the organizers of the DC Summer Music Festival. Thanks for joining us, Mohit.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Now, you've explained that you and your partners normally organize nightclub parties. Why create a big outdoor event?
Oh, this event inspired by the growing community within the Manitoba. In the nightclub parties, we heard from our guests like they want these types of events, and these days outdoor festival they are pretty much doing great, and they asked us to do something like this, and I have always passion to bring community together, so we decided to have this event.
DC, you were telling me, is sort of a slang for South Asian. So what kind of music will we hear at this festival?
So we are celebrating Punjabi and Bollywood music. Yes.
Well, that's an awful lot of fun, and there's a lot of people who love that kind of music. Your Summer Music Festival will happen June 10th on the grounds of the Punjab Cultural Centre on King Edward. Now, that's a cultural centre where families often attend. How do you think the crowd you'll get at the festival could be different from what you see at the nightclub?
Oh, we are promoting to the people who are from 18 to 35 to 40. So we are using our advertisement, which is targeting to young audience, and we have pretty good networks, and we are doing this business from last 2 years, and we have a large audience which they follow us on Instagram. We have more than 2,000 followers, so they are getting information from that platform.
Now, you know, I'm over 40, so I want to tease you now about not letting old people like me come in.
No, everyone can. There is no age restriction, but the music and the vibe which we are getting on this festival, the atmosphere will be like the youth.
How do you think you'll get in terms of size of the crowd? How many people are you expecting?
We are expecting 1,000 to 1,500.
Oh, that's great. So what's different between planning something like this to the usual nightclub gigs?
The biggest challenge we were having was to find the place something like this which can accommodate 1,500 people outdoor, and we are also having food vendors and other fun activities. So our biggest challenge were to find this place. So when we decided to have this place, then our next challenge were to gather 1,500 people. But we are getting really good response from our audience, and we are selling fast.
What happens if it rains?
So we have an arrangement for the food vendors and our setup with the DJ. They will having the covering, but for the audience, if rain happens, they will dance in rain.
Well, that would be fun too. Mohit Seni, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So are we all going to have to dance in the rain? John will have your 7-day forecast, and your daily lift is still to come.
So tomorrow is the cool day of the week, but look at this quick return to seasonal conditions on Friday. It will clear. It will be a very sunny day, 21 degrees. Saturday, to start off the long weekend, 25 degrees. Then a little cooler again on Sunday, but we warm up for Holiday Monday, 28 degrees, and could see some showers or thunderstorms on Tuesday and Wednesday next week. Saskatchewan homeowner noticed some suspicious activity in her yard west of Regina recently.
Yes, she did. So she set up a camera to try to figure out what the heck was going on. Here's your daily lift. Jen Gibson first noticed the activity in her gazebo back in early April. She didn't know what was happening, so she set up these cameras and discovered a mama fox. And then the little baby foxes, which are called kits, started appearing. So far, Jen says she's counted as many as 9 of these kits. But she says it's hard to keep track because, you know, sometimes they're not seen all together. She's seen 7 of them captured on camera at one time, 7, but she thinks there's 9. So about 10 days ago, she started posting these videos to YouTube, and guess what? They're popular.
Oh.
Seems we all enjoy the cuteness of these baby animals.
Oh, you could just watch that instead of, you know, reality TV or something. This is the best reality.
This is so much better, right?
Yeah.
Thank you for being with us tonight. I hope you'll join us tomorrow as well.
See you later.
Bye.